Men's basketball tournament presented by TIAA. Welcome to Providence and Ivy Madness semifinal number 1. The Penn Quakers and the regular season champions, the Columbia Lions, set to get things going. Still to come, 7:30 Eastern time. Should be a great showdown between Princeton and Harvard. The winners will play for a championship coming up tomorrow. It is great to have you with us with Christy Thomas-Scuddy. I am Eric Freed. Last year, Christy, the Ivy League got 2 teams into the NCAA tournament. Could it be 3 this season?
Why not? First and foremost, these teams have scheduled well, and more importantly, they've won well. 3 of these 4 finalists all have 20-plus wins on the season, and they're playing their best basketball.
Columbia played great all season, just 1 loss in conference play, and they are the regular season champs outright for the first time in program history, and the improvement of Riley Weiss is a big reason why.
Talk about a sophomore surge. Riley Weiss not only improved her mental and physical growth, put on 15 pounds of muscle, and it's showing already 83 made threes on the season. She's averaging 3 a game from long range. That's 7th best in the nation. Her release is quicker. Her stamina is better. She's better off the bounce. She's become a go-to bucket for the Lions.
She was good last year. She's been great this season. First team all-conference selection in the Ivy League. They take on a Penn team that needs to run the table here. They need to win the championship to make it to the NCAA tournament. And this is a team that's playing their best basketball right now. And Stina Almquist is a big reason why.
We'll talk a lot about the youth, but Stina Almquist has been the mainstay for Penn. One of the most versatile players in the Ivy League. She can play back to the basket, has a great ability to create space, great touch around the rim, but she can also beat you off the bounce, has great ball handling skills, but it is the footwork around the rim, the scoop shot. That's one of the most difficult things for opponents to try and defend. And oh yeah, she can step out deep and knock down the 3.
And she can fill the score sheet. Top 5 in the Ivy in scoring and rebounding, shooting, minutes, double-doubles, you name it. She has done it for a Penn team that has won 5 of their last 7 games. We're ready to go with Ivy Madness 2025, the 7th edition here at Brown University. The opening tip is controlled by Columbia, the regular season champions in the home whites.
And one thing about Columbia, they want to play with pace. They want this to be an up-tempo game. Expect Penn to mix up some defenses to try to slow down this offense.
And Penn cannot pass up opportunities to get rebounds on the glass, and they missed one there, so it's going to be Columbia ball on the baseline. The Penn starting 5, Simone Sawyer, Matea Gale at the point, Katie Collins, the rookie of the year in the Ivy League, Lizzie Gretsch, and we talked about Almquist. The feed inside, broken up and taken away by Penn. So an early turnover, and here is the sophomore from Woodstock, Georgia, running the show for Mike McLaughlin, Matea Gale.
Matea Gale, last year's freshman of the year in the Ivy League, has improved her ability to score, not just from the outside, but off the bounce. The key for Penn today, and Mike McLaughlin said it, I need one of our wings to knock down some big shots. Turnover
by Gale, taken away by Cecilia Collins. Collins for 3 off the wing, won't go down for Riley Weiss, and here comes Gale with the rebound. You see the starting 5 for Columbia with Rathew and Page joining Henderson, Weiss, and Collins. And the first bucket of the game belongs to Penn. It's a 3 for the Quakers to get things started here in Providence.
And as soon as Sawyer knocked that shot down, she went immediately to find Kitty Henderson just to slow the transition game of Columbia down.
Sawyer 27% from beyond the arc. Henderson, 8 on the shot clock.
And you see the double team to the low post.
Henderson makes a move to get open for 3, lets it go with 2 on the clock, can't get it. Batted out, fought for, and a foul is going to be called on Penn as Gale gets called for the contact. Head coach at Columbia is a Columbia alum. You're familiar with the story of Megan Griffith by now. If not, we have a couple of hours to fill you in, because I think we need that long to talk about the turnaround for this Columbia program. At-large bid to the NCAA tournament last year, and here they are, regular season champs this year, Christy.
I think the ultimate compliment is when you know no one outside of the Ivy wants to play you, and that's the reputation that Megan has created here at Columbia. They're well coached, and here's what I love this team. Tallest player 6'1", Eric, and they're one of the top offensive rebounding teams in the country. They can knock it down from deep. they're a difficult matchup for teams.
Collins at the line, gets the first points of the game for the Lions.
And one thing for Columbia this year, they're doing a lot more pressing than they did a year ago. You'll see them try to trap on those sidelines especially.
Here's Almquist for the Ivy League Rookie of the Year, Katie Collins. And one and done, the rebound for Susie Raffu. Columbia's game is transition. They love to push and a little too aggressive. And it's going to be Penn basketball.
Eric, the biggest area of improvement that I see for Penn under Mike McLaughlin has been the increase in the defensive pressure. You talked about the youth of this team early on. January was rough for them, and then they started figuring some defensive things out, especially how they're doubling the low post, and from there, they started getting better, more rebounds, and that has opened up the assist, which therefore means more scoring.
Remember last year, Christy, Ivy Madness semifinals, Penn lost to Princeton in the semis by 5. It was a one-possession game in the final minute. They really played great, battled in that game. He's happy with where his team is right now, as you just mentioned, their improvement.
And the last time that Columbia and Penn played was in late January. So
long time ago.
That's a brand new team for Columbia.
4 on the shot clock, and a traveling violation is going to be called on Gale. Penn usually does a good job taking care of the basketball, turning it over 13 times again. They did turn it over 16 times in the regular season finale. That was a loss to Princeton on Saturday. Tigers shot great in that game. New season now, though. Penn's just hoping it's more than a one-game second season. Almquist got a hand in there, check it. It's Lizzie Gretsch who got the steal, so a turnover for Columbia.
If you're a Penn fan, you have to be ecstatic about the defense so far that this team is showing here. Already 3 turnovers for Columbia on the game.
2 for Penn so far. Here's Collins. Works hard inside, looking for a whistle, didn't get it. Gretsch fighting for the rebound, and it's pulled away by Raffu. Columbia so far is 0 for 4 from the floor. To add to those turnovers you talked about. Here's Kitty Henderson. Shut off by Gretsch. Open 3 on the way. Another miss for Columbia, so a cold start for the Lions here at Brown.
Well, that's one shot that I like for Columbia, but overall, I haven't been pleased with their shot selection so far, and it's because Penn is doing a good job of containing dribble penetration so far.
Outside, Collins will launch a 3. That won't drop down, and Collins controls the rebound. Here is Riley Weiss, sophomore from Hewlett, New York on Long Island.
Eric, so far, Penn's transition defense has been locked on. They've been finding the ball handler, and they've been matching up with the shooters in transition.
Raffu on the drive. I don't know if she was looking to make the extra pass to Page, perhaps. And it's going to be a foul on Perry Page. So Columbia will go to the bench. They'll bring Raffu out. And Mia Broom, first year from Seattle, will come in, playing 18 minutes a game. And here's that Columbia pressure off the foul on Columbia.
Well, Megan Griffin can go a little bit smaller, give Raffu a blow because of the versatility of Cecilia Collins. Now she's moving to the 4 spot, matching up with the freshman Collins. And that is where you do not want to catch the inbounds pass if you're Penn against this trapping defense.
But if you have a problem, just get it in the hands of Stina Almquist, and the senior will calmly push it across half court and gets it into the hand of the sophomore point guard, Gale.
So 15 seconds on the shot clock, and Penn is just now starting their half court offense.
Gale throws it up, couldn't get it, and another rebound for Columbia. Looking ahead for Collins. Again, good transition defense by Penn, getting back, getting organized. Good start for them defensively against the Columbia team that loves to get up and down the court. It's the #1 scoring team in the Ivy at 74 points a game.
Well, when I asked Mike McLaughlin, before I even got it out, he said the keys are transition defense, and we've got to keep them off the glass.
He knows you that well. This is your 3rd Ivy Madness, so he knew what you were looking for, and that was a question about the pace of this game. And, you know, if you're Penn, you got to love what's happening so far. It's low scoring, but Columbia's had to work. Now Columbia will go to the bench. And returning from injury, sophomore from Serbia, Maria Vilas will come on. Didn't play the last 4 with an ankle injury. Her last game was February 16th. She was in the starting lineup this season, so good to see her back for Columbia wearing number 12.
Well, we talked about the growth of this Columbia program, and so they have their sights set on NCAA tournament. So it's great to see Maria back getting some action before, whether it's going to be, and I know Ivy League wants 3 teams in for Columbia. Will it be the NCAA tournament or that other one that we won't talk about right now?
One of two. One area where Columbia struggles is at the free throw line. Last in the Ivy, 61%. So you get a tight game, that could be a difference maker. Substitution for Penn, Sanaya Caldwell, junior from Franklin Lakes, New Jersey's on the floor. Open look, that won't drop down for 3. And Avilash has the rebound. Henderson, three-pointer is good in the corner. Kitty Henderson, her 26th made 3 this season. She just does everything well, especially defend, the Ivy League Defensive Player of the Year, getting things done offensively. Collins sticks with it off the miss. Henderson showing some of that defense, stripped it away, but Penn still has it. Sawyer, kind of a quick release. And here come the Lions. Pushed by Broom. Broom leans in and gets the foul call on Caldwell. And
4 straight 20-win season, 3 straight Coach of the Year in the Ivy. And it didn't happen overnight, but she came in with a plan. The former Princeton assistant coach came back to her alma mater with a plan to elevate this program and put it into national prominence.
Number 1 on the all-time wins list in Columbia history. And at the free throw line, Mia Broom ready with the second free throw. You know, Columbia's got a 4, maybe a 5-point lead, depending on what happens here with Broom. She makes it a 5-point lead. You know, she talked about this team having a sense of calm because they've been through this before. You could say they looked a little tight in the opening minutes. How does an early timeout help a team like Columbia, the regular season champs, find that reset button?
Well, I think it's just listening to one another, listening to the head coach, just taking a breath. Because, yes, I thought their shoot-around yesterday was the most relaxed we have seen them in Ivy Madness as they prepared. It's still a different thing come game day. These players want this. And we can talk about the NCAA, but I think any player in the Ivy will tell you it's about winning the Ivy championship.
Missed connection, 4th turnover for Columbia in the early going. They averaged 13 turnovers a game. They turned it over just 8 times in the regular season finale against Cornell, which was a 91-58 win, which locked up the first outright Ivy League regular season title after sharing the last 2 with Princeton.
And so you saw another press from Columbia, just trying to force someone else to bring the ball up the floor, just to make Penn have to work a little bit harder to get to the offense.
Shot clock wasn't moving. So the officials setting it to 27, and it'll be inbounded on the side by Caldwell. Mike McLaughlin's team young again. Christie, remember last year, 33% of their scoring. Freshmen this year, 30% of their scoring coming from freshmen.
Well, I'll raise you one. When you put the freshmen and sophomores together, Eric, they're averaging almost 40 points a game, which is 61% of the total scoring. The future is very bright for this Penn program.
They're looking to settle down a little bit. They let him play on. Almquist ran into Avilash, and here comes Kitty Henderson. Getting back quickly on defense. Collins rips down the rebound after the D by Gale.
So I'll say it again, right now, Penn's doing a good job of getting one-on-one defense set, because when Columbia excels, they're able to get a step on their defender, drive, and then kick the open shooters around the perimeter.
Been a defensive battle so far, and war of attrition at the moment between these two teams. Another turnover for Penn. And a couple of substitutions for both sides. Checking in for Penn is sophomore Abby Sharp. She will come on for Sawyer. And Cecilia Collins back on for Columbia. Here's Collins. Collins in her second season with Columbia, transferred over from Bucknell. Second team all-conference a year ago, first team all-conference this year. Columbia dominating on the glass. Raffew the putback and one.
We told you at the top, Columbia is the 6th best offensive rebounding team in the country. This time it's Susie Raffew getting the position, getting the rebound, getting the and one opportunity.
That's a big foul, too, for Penn, Christie, because Natea Gale goes to the bench with 2 personal fouls. So Gale to the bench with 2. Ashna Tomby, freshman from Plano, Texas, playing in her 24th game of the season. She's on in a big spot here for Penn. She wears number 0 and has her first touch.
What's more, this 1-2-2 after every score. And here comes the trap on the sideline.
Tough spot to be on the sideline, and Mike McLaughlin knows his freshman dribbled into a very dangerous spot.
Every time they score, avoid the sidelines, because that's how you can beat this Columbia pressure.
They look for Almquist. Got to try to get her going, but Raffew ready there defensively. Caldwell with 8 on the shot clock. Away from the basket is Almquist. Going to try to do it off the dribble with 3, with 2, with 1, and the Columbia defense gets another stop.
Well, even before the ball came out near half court, give Broom credit. She came off her player and was digging in on Almquist a little bit. That's why from the low block area, Almquist didn't take it, and then she just had to throw something up as the shot clock was going down.
4th turnover for the Quakers. Here's Henderson. Entry pass. Move made inside, and a good one by Raffew, who's got 2 more. She had a good game against Cornell. 10 points, 7 boards, 7 assists for Raffew, and she's been dialed in defensively, especially here in this first quarter. Look how tough she's making it on Almquist. First team All-Ivy League selection. Collins with the hesitation.
And Collins just backing down the smaller defender and then sets up Raffew. Unfortunately, she couldn't bring it in.
Didn't give up possession. Collins batted around and into the hands of Almquist. So Penn gets a stop. Columbia will bring the defense back. 1 minute to go in the first quarter. On the shot clock. Here's Caldwell. Almquist on Collins. Lost the handle. Another turnover. Columbia has held Penn to 3 points in this first quarter. It's a 13-0 run right now for the Lions.
Well, the offense is starting to settle in for Columbia. You see the screen on the ball, the roll by Susie Raffew. On the roll, Eric, she just got positioning on the low post player, and then I love how patient she was on the catch to let the defender fly by.
Freshman Sarah Miller comes into the game for Penn. You can see Raffew, after that good, hard work, getting a rest here at the end of the first quarter.
Raffew already with 6 rebounds in this game.
Maria Aribola is in for Columbia, number 15. On the drive, Henderson shut off. Gets help from Riley Weiss. Henderson got a hand on it. Columbia in a bit of a scramble and a traveling violation. Penn gets a stop, and they've got plenty of time for a final shot here to close out the quarter.
I mean, Eric, as we see in every conference tournament, these teams know one another really well. They're defending first options and plays. These teams have to be patient and try to attack and get second and third options.
So you see Gale coming on here for this final offensive possession of the quarter, playing with 2 personal fouls.
You need points right now if you're Penn, so I like this call.
Gale's got it, has to go. There she is with 6. Henderson there defensively. Gale will launch for a 3. That was much needed. Great move by Penn to get Gale on the floor, even with the 2 fouls. Needed that basket to close out. We don't show the empty seats behind us. Now there are watch parties for Columbia women's basketball.
And there's only pan views for anything they're going to show. I mean, it's remarkable the national attention that the Ivy League is getting, what each of these schools is doing to support their women's basketball programs, and it's well-deserved.
Remember, Columbia played at home for the Ivy Madness title last year, lost to Princeton, but were an at-large selection to the NCAA tournament, lost to Vanderbilt in the NCAAs.
Eric, with Matea Gale on the bench, how does Penn get Almquist touches? That time it was a set play, but the pass, just way too much loft on it. Otherwise, Almquist should have had an easy two.
Columbia making everything difficult right now for the Quakers, and turnover number 6 for Penn.
The silver lining for Penn, dead ball turnover, so you can get your defense set, and it's not allowing Columbia to get out and run in transition.
Collins turns and scores, averaging just under 14 points a game. Good for 7th in the Ivy League. Went for 21, a team high, in the regular season finale against Cornell. Caldwell, back out to Collins. Penn needs to get Collins going here. Has not scored. She's 0 for 4 from the field. Columbia's defense making it difficult on Sarah Miller, the freshman. 4 on the shot clock. Penn's got a launch. Almquist does from the logo. Caught the iron on the bank. And another rebound for Columbia. Collins trying to work with Page.
And you see Penn switching those screens around the perimeter, trying to prevent Columbia from being able to turn the corner.
6 on the shot clock, into the hands of Henderson. Shot clock down to 2 on the run, off the window, beating the clock. Avilash, her first points.
Welcome back, Avilash. You just see the speed, her ability to create off the bounce for the Lions.
Double-digit lead for the Lions. Second quarter, the winner to take on the winner of our next game between Princeton and Harvard tomorrow evening here at Brown.
I mean, we talk a lot about the offense of Columbia, but right now it's their defense. Penn can't get anything going until that drive to the bucket.
Strong take by the freshman from Phoenix. Sarah Miller played just 3 minutes against Princeton in the regular season finale, averaging 6 points a game, comes up with a much-needed hoop for the Quakers. Bola. Collins on the turnaround. A little too strong, another rebound. It's Page on the offensive glass. A lot of second chance opportunities. Henderson trying to work for another one, and she does for Columbia. Lions continue to dominate on the glass.
Well, Columbia's starting to find their flow on the offensive end. It starts great back screen by Cecilia Collins. Because she set such a good screen, her defender had to help. She was open. And then Maria Ovilash drives by her defender. Great touch around the rim.
Quakers foul on number 20. First team's first of the quarter. Lions is number 5 in the program, number 24.
Plenty of substitutions for both teams. Bola stays on the court, gets the inbound. Riley Weiss is fouled attempting a three-pointer, and it's the 3rd personal on Matea Gale.
Eric, I agree with Coach McLaughlin bringing Matea Gale back in the game. They're struggling to score, but the number one thing for Gale is she's got to concede some shots. Flies out, and it's more so, in my opinion, on that one. Weiss's landing spot came inward where Gale was already established.
I think I've worked with you enough that is you respectfully disagreeing with the call.
I would respectfully agree with that statement.
So here is Weiss. Christy talked about at the top of the show how she's made the jump this year. One thing for her, Christy, is trying to erase the memory of last year. She scored 2 points total for Columbia in Ivy Madness in the 2 games, was 1 of 7 from the field. Wasn't as big a part of the offense last year. Abby Shue was the star of the show and dominated in many ways, but you can see turnovers are an issue. Gale will now leave the floor. She was still on the floor waiting for Caldwell to come on, so she goes to the bench with 3. Huge.
I mean, Gale leads Penn in assists, averaging a little over 4 a game, and the offense has just been so stagnant because she's a table setter. What I mean by that is she can beat her defender and find easy looks for her teammates. Now someone else needs to be able to set up this offense.
Foul's going to be called.
Actually, it was out of bounds.
Oh, just a tip out of bounds. Yeah. Got you. So
Columbia's upset because they want a stop every time.
They've had it most times here so far today. Penn just with 8 points on the board. Quakers are 2 of 12 from the field so far. On the other end, Columbia's 3 of 13 from the field, so it's not like they're lighting it up. That's helping Penn stay within shouting distance, and that helps. Caldwell knocks down the 3.
And so much is going to be on Caldwell and Sawyer's shoulders now with Matea Gale on the bench for Penn.
Sawyer doesn't mind that. She's been good against Columbia this season. 14 points in each of the 2 games, 11 of 20 from the field. Caldwell and Sawyer trying to pick up the slack with Gale on the bench. The feed inside, good unselfish basketball by Columbia. 17 assists a game for the Lions. They're back on top by 8.
And you see Columbia just relentless with the pressure right now, with the jump, trying to force another turnover.
Another 3 on the way. There's Collins looking for the putback. Another one off the mark. Almquist on the offensive glass, and the foul's going to be called on Raffu, who just gave a shove to Gretsch.
Well, Eric, Penn needs points. So Caldwell recognizes the defender goes under the on-ball screen. She stops and pops from deep. And then Page, off the dribble penetration, recognizes that Raffu's defender rotated to her, finds her big for the easy 2. Again, Columbia knows these plays. They're taking away first options. Penn's got to be able to read the defense.
Henderson with the steal for the Lions. 6 minutes to go in the first half. Columbia had a 13-0 run in the first quarter to jump in front, and now a turnover on the Lions. It'll be their 6th, Christy.
Raffu has rolled quickly the last couple of possessions, and her teammates have not found her immediately when she's been open. That time they found her late. Defense rotated. She shuffled her feet.
Henderson gets hands in there as well, and it's going to be a turnover. So Columbia, Milosh back on the floor for the first time in about a month. Going to take a little time for her to get back into game rhythm.
Well, I think we know Columbia wants to play with pace. I just think they're sped up right now. Versus, I'd rather see them work a little bit deeper into shot clocks, execute a little bit more on the offense, and create higher percentage looks for one another.
It does feel like Columbia should be up by more than 8 right now with how they're playing defensively, but the turnovers and the cold shooting have hurt the Lions. Almquist, nothing coming easy right now. What a follow for the Quakers. Brooke Suttle got in there for her first points.
Well, for Penn right now, you just got to create offense any way you can. And right now, they're playing with an extra pep on the offensive end.
Sawyer trying to make it tough on Henderson. Back out to Weiss. Defended by the senior Gretsch. Raffu for Collins. 3 on the shot clock for Columbia. Tough shot and a foul on the jump shooter, Riley Weiss. That will send her to the line when we come back to Brown University in Providence in a 6-point game in our first semifinal. There could be 3 or somewhere in the middle like last year, 2. There's still a lot in play here at Ivy Madness.
Absolutely. And You hear me say this all the time. When you're a head coach, you want to control what you can control. So for Megan Griffith right now, it is get the win today, get the win tomorrow, and then you can sleep well Saturday night going into Selection Sunday. And right now, her team seems a little tight on offense. I think they're almost too sped up. One thing I would like to see Columbia do better is hit Susie Raffu on the rolls. They've been late finding her consistently so far in this first half. So she goes and gets this ball herself.
Foul's going to be on Subtle. That's her first. And back to the free throw line for Columbia. So far, Christy, Columbia to the line for 12 attempts. This will be 13 and 14. No free throw attempts yet for Penn.
Well, and some of this is because we haven't seen Almquist really work, get the ball down on the block and be able to try to even draw contact through her scoring ability.
Mentioned the struggles for Columbia as a team. Raffu at the line, 39% at the stripe. And it's going to be a lane violation on Page. And Penn will have the basketball on the baseline. 8-point game. Penn needs to win this game, and they need to win tomorrow in order to make it to the NCAA tournament.
And so now Gretsch needs to be able to handle the ball pressure and then get her team in the half-court offense.
Almquist gets an open look for three. First points for Almquist, their leading scorer, and third in the Ivy at just shy of 18 points a game. I think Mike McLaughlin has to feel good about that. Almquist doesn't score until that moment, and they're down by 5. Subtle on the glass. And they've done a better job on the glass here in the second quarter compared to the first quarter, have the Quakers.
Absolutely. And honestly, they've handled the pressure after the first little bit, and they've been able to get some good looks, but Subtle has set a couple of good screens to free Almquist. If you're Penn, just better screening, better cutting.
That one short from Sawyer. And here comes Page on the push. And a turnover again by Columbia. And you've mentioned it before, sped up right now. Columbia just needs to take a breath and slow down. They're trying to win this game by halftime. It's a 40-minute game.
Well, and I think they're trying to win this. They're trying to get in the NCAA tournament right now in this next possession versus doing what they've done all season long. And when Columbia's playing at their best, it's unselfish basketball. It is ball reversal. It's scoring off of dribble penetration.
Lost out of bounds by Penn. Turnover for the Quakers. It'll be Columbia basketball. Let's take you down previous step.
Well, Eric, we've said it seems like Columbia should be up more, mainly because Almquist had not been getting shots. Subtle gets her the down screen. Almquist is wide open for her best look of the day.
10 turnovers now for the Quakers.
The other thing I'll say is because there's been so many turnovers, so many whistles because of the turnovers, there's no flow. That favors Penn because the pace of play is so slow right now for Columbia.
Penn averaging 66 points a game. Columbia 74 points a game, #1 in the Ivy League. Henderson on the reverse, can't get it. Tapped out, and a second chance again for the Lions. Collins looks for the Raffu screen. Raffu gets to the basket for 2 more. She has 9 to lead all scores. Inside of 3 minutes to play in the first half.
And I want to go back to, that was a second chance opportunity for Columbia. They're now up to 7 offensive rebounds in this game, averaging just over 16 a game.
Fresh, back to Subtle. Shut up on the baseline. Almquist launches and makes another 3. Stina Almquist, more of an inside presence for Penn this season. Just 16 threes made in the regular season, but 2 here in this quarter, and it's a 4-point game. Henderson will step back. Can't get the 3. Collins touched it last. It will be Penn basketball.
But one of the highest percentage shots in basketball is the three off of dribble penetration. Subtle drives. Rathew goes to overcommit to help. That's why Almquist is open for the three.
Remember, Penn doing this, playing well in this quarter, with 3 fouls on their point guard, Taya Gale.
And hats off to Caldwell, because she's handling the ball pressure, getting her team into the half-court offense.
Collins tipped out of bounds by Perry Page. It will stay with Penn, 1:49 to go before halftime. Coming up at halftime, we'll take a look at the major award winners in the Ivy League, and we will also take a little peek at what's to come. Harvard and Princeton, game number 2 here tonight at Brown.
I think a couple of people might be interested in the outcome of that game around the country.
Collins on the turnarounds, can't get it. Almquist got a hand on it, but here comes Page, who's a blur across half court, who's going all the way and draws the foul on Caldwell. That's her second.
Well, you want to play with pace. You need to have multiple players who can push tempo. That time, Page gets the rebound and just takes it coast to coast to get to the free throw line.
So Perry Page will head to the free throw line. Junior from Pittsburgh, her season ended as a first year with an injury in a game against Penn. Came back last season, played 17 minutes a game. Averaged 5.5 points, but her numbers are up this year. Tied for the team lead in rebounding. She's been active on the glass here today and has been good against Penn this season, averaging better than 13 points a game in the 2 Columbia victories.
She's a good matchup defensively against Penn, because we've talked about Almquist's versatility. Well, Page has it as well, and her ability to just show her athleticism and beat Penn off the glass is another way that she excels in this matchup.
Page has 3. Caldwell across half court will slow things down. Settle back on the floor for the Quakers. Cuts to the basket. Good find by Caldwell, and the finish by Suttle. Brooke Suttle had scored a grand total, Christie, of 21 points in 17 regular season games, and she's made an impact off the bench for Penn here today. She's got 4 points, 2 of 2 from the field. They'll stay with Columbia.
Where our challenge that Suttle's making her impact felt on both ends, but it's her screening and her cutting without the ball, and her teammates are doing a great job of finding her. Came off the screen, teammate found her for the easy 2.
Collins has to throw it over the top to Henderson. Henderson trying to go against Almquist. Great finish by Kitty Henderson for 2. Final minute, second quarter here at the Pizzatola Center. Caldwell is open for 3. That's short, and a rebound for Broom.
I think Penn was going 2 for 1 there to make sure they get the ball back before the end of the half.
Anderson's got the call from Griffith on the Columbia bench. And now the Lions go to work with 9. Collins looking for the screen. Back out to Weiss, 2 on the shot clock. Great defense by Caldwell. I don't think she got it off in time. It's a shot clock violation and a stop for Penn. 10.8 to go in the quarter.
And I said it before, these teams know one another. The staff for Penn was screaming out the option and what was coming. Great defensive stand by Penn.
So Collins comes in for Penn now, Christie. McLaughlin can't take the chance like he did at the end of the quarter and get Gale on the court, can he, with the 3 points?
I don't think so. Again, you're within striking distance. It's just 6. You've got the opportunity now, most importantly, get the ball inbounded safely and get a shot off. But worst case, you're down 6 going into halftime with your starting point guard being on the bench the majority of this game.
Teresa Stuck, our lead official, is over at the monitor right now. I think probably just checking on the time here. 13.1 from 10.8. Oh, look at this by McLaughlin here. He will bring in Gale right now with the 3 fouls. This worked for them at the end of the first quarter. Remember, she hit that 3 to close out the quarter.
Well, you want to win a championship, you've got to make some gutsy calls, and this is a huge gut check for Penn.
So when you check the number of fouls, that's just foul number 2 on Columbia. So playing the foul game here with a couple to give with 8.4 to go. So 2 team fouls now, still 2 to give for the Lions to really take Penn out of what they want to do here.
I would foul again.
There's Caldwell. Caldwell on the drive, leans in, got a pretty decent shot off, fell hard, and that will do it. Penn looking for the foul, not getting it. But all in all, good recovery by the Quakers to be down 6 at halftime, Christy.
Especially with Matea Gale being saddled with the 3 fouls. We're really impressed with Subtle, really impressed with Caldwell to keep the Quakers afloat.
So the Columbia Lions, the regular season champions, take a lead to the locker room at halftime, but it is tight with the Quakers. Ivy Madness semifinal number 1 at the as you mentioned, 9 points, 6 rebounds, 2 on the offensive glass, and leading the way for the Quakers, Almquist with 6 points. Winner of this game to take on the winner of our next game between Harvard and Princeton. We previewed it a little bit at halftime. The championship coming up tomorrow here at the Pizzatola Center, 5:30 Eastern time. Last year it was Columbia and Princeton meeting for the championship at Columbia, and Princeton picked up the win.
You almost get the feeling that everyone's been talking about Columbia, Harvard, and Princeton, and Penn's like, hang on.
Yes.
We've got something to say, because
100%.
without Gale on the floor in that first half, saddled with the 3 fouls, I thought Penn's other guards really stepped up. Caldwell handled the ball against the full court pressure of Columbia, and that's why I say it became team offense. They did a much better job of executing in the half court.
As I mentioned, 7th year of Ivy Madness. Columbia, the regular season champions in the Ivy League, but you see what's happened in this tournament. In the last 5 times it was contested, they did not play, of course, 2020, because 5 years ago at this time we were all pandemic-minded, and then the Ivy League did not play in the 2020-2021 season. Princeton looking to keep their good times going, but they are not the number 1 seed. How about this move for Mike McLaughlin? Matea Gale picked up 3 fouls in the first half, so she's on the bench. Cheerleader mode to start this 3rd quarter.
Well, and her teammates gave her a lot to cheer about down this stretch, and so I'm really eager to see first 4 minutes of this half. Columbia was not in that locker room very long. I have a feeling the message was very quick. Take care of the ball. Let's slow down and execute in offense.
So now Caldwell getting the second half start, number 4 for the Quakers. Here's Henderson looking for Weiss on the post up against Caldwell. Drops it down low, and the finish. Susie Raffu having a big game for Columbia, into double figures now with 11.
And we talked about Penn's improvement defensively has been about the doubling of the low post. That time Columbia came out and exploited it.
Caldwell for Almquist. Awkward shot, wouldn't drop, and Kitty Henderson comes away for Columbia. Up quickly, good read by Caldwell to knock it away. It will be Columbia basketball.
Well, Penn wants to double the low block, Eric, and so as soon as Almquist leaves Raffu to go double, Raffu cuts to the rim, and she keeps the defender on her backside. 2 points for Columbia.
6 assists on 9 made field goals for the Lions. Here's Weiss. Almquist on the switch. Entry pass again, and another basket for the junior from Ipswich, England. Setting the pace for Columbia here in the semifinals. On the season, Christy averaging just under 7 points a game. She's got 13 today on 6 of 7 shooting.
I think the most impressive thing about Raffu's game is that she'll do whatever is needed for her team. You talked about the 7 assists in the win against Cornell. Well, today, her team needs her to score, and she's doing that.
Tried to go with the left-handed lead pass, turned it over, and then stepping in, it's a block or a charge. It is a blocking foul called on Columbia. It was Page who took the contact.
Number 1 pair of plays, that's for second. Team's
Megan Griffith's not going to like this because it starts because of another turnover by Columbia. Paige tries to rotate over to stop Sawyer. I think she got there just a little bit too late.
First free throw of the game for the Quakers. One of two for Sawyer at the line. And here comes Paige on the push.
And Megan Griffin is telling her team, push, push, push. She wants to get this tempo up.
Collins on the post up. Muscles it up for two.
We know the Columbia guards can shoot the three, but they also are so good at posting up down low.
Collins now with 6, 2 of 7 from the floor. Sawyer. Caitlin Collins for Penn, 8 on the shot clock. Gretsch for Caldwell. Three-pointer. It's been big for Penn here today. Not this time. Off the mark is Sawyer. And then Almquist comes in to take it away for Penn, and giving the foul is Raffu after the turnover. Raffu's had a couple of turnovers to offset all the good things she's done here for Columbia in this game, and now picks up the foul.
I think it's another example of just Columbia trying to be too fast. Again, Raffu, get the ball, outlet to a guard, and then push pace in transition.
Raffu's going to head to the bench, but before she gets there, Megan Griffith's going to grab her for a little conversation.
Teachable moments is what coaches like to refer to those as.
Gale into the game with the 3 personal fouls. Kicks it for the open 3. No. Batted around and controlled by Penn. Second chance here for the Quakers.
Nice closeout by Paige. Almquist would have had a 3.
Here's Gale with the 3. That won't drop, and Henderson has the rebound for Columbia.
I think it's important for Penn not to live and die by that 3, because with those missed 3s, you're providing Columbia the opportunity to get out and run because of the long rebounds.
They want to post up. Gale with the 3 personal fouls. Has to be careful with Collins. Collins works it outside. Three-pointer for Aribola. Timeout called by Penn. Great start to the second half for Columbia. They've stretched it out to a...
Yeah, Columbia went on a 24-0 run across the second and third quarter. He knows how explosive this offense can be for the Lions. And we talked about it. He has a young team. Keep them connected. Keep them dialed into what is most important, and that's next play.
First meeting between Penn and Columbia. Penn was up 1 at halftime at the Palestra. Game was tight in the fourth. Lions outscored Penn by 10 in the fourth quarter. They come out of the timeout and get a much-needed basket, their first field goal of the second half.
And the fact that Penn came out and executed as well as they did, Mike McLaughlin is making the right calls as the head coach for Penn right now. His players just need to try to get some stops.
And that's going to be foul number 4 on Gale. Gale is complained about, oh no, correction, it's not. Gale was complaining and protesting that it was on her, and it was not called on her. Here's that 3 by Collins, Christy. And then on the other end, Gale thought she had 4, and now she's stuck on 3.
But Eric, that's the game plan for Columbia. When Gale was at the table to check in a little while ago, Megan Griffin was telling her team, go at her. Yeah, it looks like they got Almquist for that last call.
Almquist picked up the personal. Thank you, Christy. That's her first, and here is Gale, defended by Henderson. Last year's Ivy Rookie of the Year, defended by this year's Defensive Player of the Year. Suttle played some good minutes in that first half on the floor. Henderson got in the air. Jumper is off the mark. Collins got a hand on it, but it's picked up by Aribola. And now Penn's going to jump in on defense, and a timeout called by Columbia. So Penn mixing things up defensively, and that forces the Lions into a timeout. up by 13.
I mean, that's one of the first times we've seen Penn go and double the ball off of a miss. I love the call, especially because it wasn't a primary ball handler for Columbia. Great read by the players on the floor, even better call from the bench.
So as the teams huddle up, I remind you that coming up next, it's Princeton taking on Harvard. We heard from Charlie Cream earlier. What's at stake in that game? Ivy League is hoping that they've done enough throughout the course of the season to have 3 teams in the NCAA tournament, no matter what happens here at Ivy Madness. But I think being realistic and thinking what could happen on Selection Sunday, that next game feels so important for the team that wins it to ensure or get closer to ensuring a spot in the NCAA tournament. It will be huge coming up at 7:30 Eastern time.
So many eyeballs will be on that game around the country because they understand the bubble ramification. Once again, all eyes on Ivy Madness this year as well. And both coaches, you know, in the next matchup knew it. They didn't want to come out and say it. It is all about the next game for them. Typical coach speak.
Well, the Harvard head coach, Carrie Moore, she talked about that, but she could rattle off her net and what her net has been all season long pretty quickly because it's been good all season long. They're top 40 right now.
And they go to Indiana and they get that win in the early season. They beat Columbia, their second quad 1 win of the season. And so again, the great news for the Ivy, and this is where we're at now with this league, is win and you know you're okay. That's the reputation now. That's the quality of play in this league in terms of our next game.
So Columbia, the #1 seed, needing to win this game, get a step closer to the NCAA tournament, and then the winner tomorrow, 5:30, between the winner of this game and the winner of semifinal #2 will have the automatic qualifier into the NCAA tournament a day before Selection Sunday. Great way to wrap up the weekend. And really, when you're talking about the potential of 3 Ivy League teams being in the tournament, shows you the quality of these top 3 teams. And now here's Penn in the middle of things, knowing
hang on a second.
We can play spoiler. And if they do what they did at the first Ivy Madness at the Palestra in 2017 and win the whole thing, they're going to the NCAA tournament. And that will change the conversation completely, and nothing would make Mike McLaughlin happier.
Well, and Eric, I think we as media want to talk about the NCAA tournament all the time, but I think it's understanding the culture of the Ivy League. It is about this championship. It is about the bragging rights for the alumni base, for these players, for these coaches. That's the most important thing to these players right now.
You look at every other conference and how much it's changed to the point where you say sometimes, oh, I forgot that team is now in that conference. It's called the Ancient Eight for a reason. Not much has changed, so there is so much put into being the best team from the Ivy League. That's why Columbia celebrated in the regular season, and that's why you'll see a great celebration for the winner here tomorrow night. Beautiful feed inside and wide open. Perry Page for 2.
And Eric, Penn mixed up the defense. I think it was to protect Gale, and they just had one miscue on a rotation, and Columbia made them pay.
15-point lead for the Lions. That pass intended for Collins, thrown into the hands of the head coach, Mike McLaughlin. Back to that breakdown defensively.
Well, Penn had Columbia looking to see what was happening defensively. Went deep into the shot clock. Collins, unfortunately, didn't rotate. You see her flying out, thinking someone was open for 3. That left Page open underneath.
Page now with 5 to go along with 6 rebounds and a steal. As Henderson will bring it across half court.
So Penn goes back to player now after that miscue.
Henderson behind the back, bounce pass, finish by Page. Beautiful dish by Kitty Henderson. Columbia pulling away here in the third. 3-pointers will be huge for Penn. No, Page can't get the rebound. Almost saved it to Collins. It'll be Penn basketball. Penn Penn basketball on the baseline, 4:36 to go in the third quarter.
Again, so well scouted is Columbia of Penn sets on the baseline outbound. They were trying to get Almquist curling in. Well defended by Columbia.
Here's Henderson on the push the other way for Columbia off the Penn turnover. Columbia has outscored the Quakers 15-4 here in the third quarter.
And they've got the mass that Columbia does that they wanted. Page was down low demanding the ball, but just never got out of the paint. 3-second call against Columbia.
Let's take you back to Kitty Henderson. You want to see that again?
I would love to see anything about Kitty Henderson. This is a huge member of the Kitty Henderson fan club. She saw Page cutting from that weak side, knew she couldn't go through the traffic, went around the back.
Inside of 4 to play. Third quarter, semifinal number 1 here at Ivy Madness, Brown University. Almquist was open. They finally get it to her, and she finishes. First points of the second half for the senior from Sweden. She's got 8.
Last time down, Columbia ran a play to get the switch. Gale on a big down low. This time they don't need it because of a great slip by Raffu.
Raffu tracking it down in the corner. She's got it. She's been all over the floor, both ends here today. And a second chance here again for Columbia. Lions are a +12 in rebounding margin on the cuts, and a foul will send Raffu to the free throw line.
Raffu's just dictating play on both ends of the floor. She's doing it on the defensive end with her size, and she's so active offensively. This time they got her off the screen and roll, found her on that roll.
Riley Weiss coming on for Columbia as Henderson will head to the bench. And to the line goes Raffu. Gave a starter second half of last season for this Columbia team that won 23 games last year. Looking for their 23rd win of the season here today.
And with the made free throw comes the full court pressure.
1 of 2 for Susie. She's got 14. Here's Gale, approaching 3 minutes to go in the third. Gale leans in. Defensively, Lihash was there. Penn sticks with it. Almquist for 2.
I know Gale's been frustrated with the officiating today, but she just got to play. Every time she takes a shot, she's wanting a call. And Columbia's got the mismatch they want down low.
Big time. Help comes from the backside. It's knocked out of bounds by Sawyer and will stay with Columbia.
Great team defense by Penn.
Lions will go to the bench. And I see Simmons, first year from Brockton, Mass. About an hour or so, depending on traffic. There's usually a little between here and Brockton. Thrown away by Columbia. Mistake there by the Lions. Almquist is going to take it to the basket. Couldn't get it. Penn on the glass. Good hustle play by Subtle to get down there, and she was fouled with 2:37 to go in the third quarter.
I think Almquist was trying to draw the foul and just didn't quite get the angle she needed. But great job with Gale to get that second chance opportunity.
You can see Mike McLaughlin hot. He wanted the foul called on the Almquist take to the basket. Ball is tied up, and possession arrow will keep it with Penn. Saw Henderson get back into the game, and Collins will get back in. Gretsch coming on for Penn.
Heads-up play by Subtle to get on the floor with that. Eric, she came in today averaging 6 minutes a game and just over 1 point a game. Her presence here has been huge for Penn. Handled the ball, has defended, and she's already up to 10 minutes in this game.
Here's Gale, defended by Weiss. Gale swings it, but taken away by Henderson, who was there for the steal. Weiss. Columbia trying to make it back to the Ivy Madness final. They came up short on their home floor last year. Strong third quarter here. Putting the Lions on top by 14, and the foul is going to be called. I think it's on Gretsch, who is working inside. It is.
Both Collins and Henderson are difficult matchups for this Penn ball club, because if you go with speed because of their dribble penetration opportunities, they can both post you up as bigger guards.
Gale going to the bench for Penn. Remember, she's been battling foul trouble. Henderson to trigger the inbound. Here's Weiss.
Nice switch out there.
They're subtle defensively, making it tough on Collins. Henderson, she's shut off. Back outside for Collins. Collins to Henderson, 3 on the shot clock. Henderson's gonna have to force one up and gets it to drop. I think she'll prefer the style points of the behind-the-back bounce pass, but beating the shot clock off the window for 2, putting Columbia on top by 16 will be a close second. Almquist on the drive and one. The senior says we're not done yet. Chance for a 3-point play for Stina Almquist.
Where you need your seniors to step up at the biggest moment, and it starts with Kitty Henderson. She knows as the point guard, time and score. Shot clock's getting skinny, so she puts it on the floor and kisses it off the glass. And then the answer by Almquist drives it to get the and one.
Almquist to the line, went for 11 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists in the Ivy semifinal last season. Finishes off the 3-point play. She's got 13 to lead Penn in scoring, 14 for Rafu, the Columbia High. Henderson on the drive on Almquist. Count it, and the foul. Getting the continuation and a chance for a 3-point play, although the officials are having a conversation and they say no baskets.
I agree with that, but that was a great play and even better read by Kitty Henderson. There was a back screen, and it just parted the seas, and Kitty Henderson recognizes it and drives it to the rim.
So no chance for an and one. It will be Columbia basketball on the baseline.
Win area for Columbia all season long. They've been so good on baseline out-of-bounds plays.
Weiss finds the open shooter. The 3-pointer is short from Page. Just a 22% 3-point shooter, so not the first option for Columbia, even though she was wide open. And it's Penn basketball, final minute of the third quarter. Almquist. Almquist shut off by Page. Collins is fouled by Weiss.
And Eric gets subtle, but Almquist not passing out to the wing. She saw out of the corner of her eye the rotation, was more patient, and then kicked it out to Collins.
That's 2 on Weiss, but Columbia is over the limit, so Collins will go to the free throw line. It's been a quiet day for the Ivy League Rookie of the Year. 9-time Rookie of the Week this season. Katie Collins, 1 of 7 from the field, steps up to the free throw line. Makes the first. She was held in check the first 2 games against Columbia this season. 13 total points, 5 of 14 shooting again. Columbia doing a good job against Collins, who makes the second free throw.
I'm going to guess what, there were 11 weeks in the Ivy season this year?
Give or take.
That's how dominant Katie Collins has been in terms of
9 Rookie of the Week awards.
Yes.
Simmons to the bench for Columbia. Penn will bring some pressure into the backcourt. Columbia is going to have to bring Simmons back out, and Weiss will stay on the bench for now.
Well, and for Penn, they were able to get Gale on the bench, try to avoid that fourth. And falling back into his zone now, Penn is.
Mike McLaughlin telling him from the bench, hands up in the zone. Team listens, 10 on the shot clock.
Oh, yes, turnover.
Yeah, traveling violation, so a mistake by Columbia, shaken ahead by Megan Griffith on the Columbia bench. Penn will get Gale, the point guard, back on the floor here for the final possession, they hope, of this third quarter.
And so immediately Columbia extending their pressure. Huge possession for Penn. Can they get this to single digits going into the fourth?
Six seconds to go for Gale. Down the 4. Open 3 on the way. Doesn't drop in, and that will do it for the quarter. Penn bench is up looking for a foul, but we will head to the benches at the end of 3 in what is now an 11-point game as Penn has gotten a little bit closer as we head to the fourth. Semifinal number 1, a spot in the Christie, but remember, Columbia stretched their lead out to 17 midway through the third, so better for Penn. They make it an 11-point game as we head to the fourth quarter. Spot in the Ivy Madness final tomorrow on the line against the winner of Princeton and Harvard, which follows 7:30 Eastern time here in Providence. Off the miss by Columbia, Penn's got it.
I was going to say, it was a good set to get Kitty Henderson the ball on the block. She just couldn't finish.
Columbia was 7 of 9 from the field in that third quarter, shooting 47% for the game through 3. Gale on the pull-up. She's had her hands tied with foul trouble, but maybe she can just let it fly here a little bit. Remember, she picked up her third personal foul with 7:23 to go in the second quarter. She hasn't picked up a foul since.
Well, and it affects, for someone like Gale who creates so much off the bounce, it affects her ability to really get aggressive on the drive because you don't want to get that fourth on a charge call.
Here's Collins trying to post up Almquist. Little fadeaway, soft touch for 2. 8 points now for Collins, averaging nearly 14 points a game. Gale. Here's Almquist on the drive, leans in against Page for 2. 15 now for Stina, 9 coming in the second half. Back to a 9-point game.
The key for Penn now, they got to get a stop and then convert it into some points and cut into this deficit.
Here's Henderson. Looking again for Collins. Defended by Collins. Fed it to the middle, no one there. No reset on the shot clock, and a traveling violation. Turnover for Columbia. That is their 16th turnover of the game.
When you got to believe, it feels like Penn's starting to figure some things out on offensive end. Gale turns the corner tight off of that on-ball screen, elevates for the pull-up. And then Almquist, great crossover, and kisses it off the glass. They got the stop now, Penn did. Can they convert it into points and cut into this lead?
Raffew is on. Page to the bench for Columbia. On the cut to the basket, the finish by Gale, the feed by Almquist.
And I think that might have been a new play because Columbia was giving the signal to one another and no one really knew what was coming.
Started with Kitty Henderson. She was yelling out at the top after hearing the play call for Penn, but Penn executed it. Columbia couldn't stop it. And the Quakers are now down by 7. Can they get another stop here? Raffew's been good inside. 4 on the shot clock. Down to 3. Collins on the run. Couldn't get it. Almquist has the rebound. Penn gets the stop. 11-2 run for the Quakers, and a foul called in the backcourt on Broom.
Where if we talk about it all the time, these teams know one another. It doesn't matter. It comes down to execution. Gail comes tight off of the back screen. That was a great pass by Almquist. Led her to the rim for that two.
Second personal on Broom. She stays in the game. Almquist, Collins, Gale. That's been the big three for Penn, and they go to work together, but Almquist couldn't hit on the inside. Now Broom on the push. Through the legs, look at that pass! Columbia's thrown a couple of passes on the highlight reel in this game. Back to a 9-point lead for the Lions.
I remember telling you yesterday as we were watching these teams play, Broom's open court speed with a ball in her hands, impressive. And then when you're live and you see it, it's even more remarkable.
Broom to Collins, through the legs for the two. 6.5 to go in the fourth. 4 on the shot clock. Gale just looked up at it. She's going to have to hoist it. Didn't hit anything. It'll be a shot clock violation. All right, we saw Henderson with the behind-the-back bounce. How about through the legs by Broom?
It's just madness. It's Ivy madness, and it is Broom that beautifully, and then some people try to be a showboat. I actually think that was a smart basketball move because if she goes around, it's too slow of a feed. Tremendous pass by Broom.
Columbia with the ball and the lead, up by 9, approaching 6 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter. The winner to play for the championship tomorrow, Cecilia Collins, gets called for the offensive foul as Gretsch took the contact.
Set play by Columbia on the block there to try to get Cecilia Collins off of the arm ball, and she recognizes the overplay, goes baseline, but Gretsch beats her to the spot.
What does Penn draw up here against Columbia defense inside of 6 minutes to go? Gale blocked by Henderson. The defensive player of the year in the Ivy came up with the stop. Columbia on the run. Here they are in transition, and Penn once again gets back well on defense. Broom. Hesitation to the basket, but couldn't get it to drop. Cecilia Collins on the glass. And a whistle before the shot by Raffu, and a foul called on Gretsch for Penn. That's her fourth. For the moment, Gretsch staying on the floor, but hustling off the bench for Penn. That is Brooks Suttle, so Gretsch, the senior, will head to the bench. On the baseline, out of bounds play. It's a layup for Henderson, the feed from Collins. 9 points now for Kitty Henderson, the senior from Australia. Gale, open three, is good. Does seem like she's playing freely now, but there's a fine line between playing freely and forcing. But that was in rhythm, knocked it down, big three to make it an 8-point game.
And it was a great read by Gale. She recognized her defender went under, and so she stopped and popped.
Long pass to Henderson. Inside of 5 minutes to go in semifinal number 1. Henderson to the corner, Cecilia Collins hangs in the air, off the window, no. Rebound by Gale, saved it. Great play by Gale to get it done for Penn, and here come the Quakers. Is this a play for Gale? Henderson all over, Gale with the kick. And stepping out of bounds was Sawyer, turnover Penn. That will get us a media timeout.
Impacting both ends of the floor for the Quakers.
Columbia basketball out of the media timeout. Here is Henderson. Off for Page. Raffu wants to drive on Almquist. Down she goes. Rebound by Gale. Now, there was a faking being fouled warning given to Penn earlier this half, but they let them play on. Gale with the dish. Off the window for two. It's the freshman from New Jersey, Collins.
Well, and credit Gale. This is why I say she's so important to this offense. Her ability to create off the bounce, force rotations. That's why Collins was open on the weak side. 2-possession
game inside of 4 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter. Weiss on the drive, got around Collins for 2. 6 points now for Weiss. That's her first field goal of the game. Leading scorer for this team at 18 points a game. Second in the Ivy, has been held in check. Three-pointer for Penn. It was a big part of their offense in the first half. Collins on the follow, no. Look who's there on the follow, though. Brooke Subtle. There's been nothing subtle about her performance today. She has been an impact player, someone who didn't play a ton in the regular season.
I like the wordsmith there. But Subtle is just making her impact felt. We talked about her filling minutes in the first half. Well, she's not filling minutes anymore. She's making the impact this time with the offensive rebound.
Go through her minutes numbers again in the regular season.
6.2 to be exact.
In 17 games, by the way. It's not like she played in every game this season. This is game number 28 on the season for the Quakers. But the freshman from Atlanta playing very well.
And it averaged 1.2 points per game.
Approaching 3 minutes to go, fourth quarter. Here is Henderson. Henderson and Cecilia Collins, the seniors for this team, and a foul is going to be called on Penn and the reaching on Henderson.
We've seen this a couple of times now from Columbia. They run Henderson off of that UCLA back screen, and then she gets the post up. I thought Sawyer was going to be able to get the steal, but just came through the body a little bit too much.
2 team fouls on the Quakers, 3 on Columbia, inside of 3 minutes to play in the fourth.
And I want to go back to something you said in the first quarter. As good as this Columbia team is offensively, they struggle from the free throw line. Might that come into play in these last 3 minutes?
61% as a team last in the Ivy. Tough shot by Weiss, couldn't get it, and the rebound for Sawyer. Here's Gale playing like she's the best player on the court here in this second half. Subtle makes the pass. Collins couldn't get it, and a foul is going to be called on Raffu for Columbia on the box out.
I go back to something Mike McLaughlin said to us yesterday. He doesn't think Collins is ever going to be this proficient scorer because she just doesn't really hunt buckets, but she moves without the ball at the most critical time for the Quakers to draw the foul.
Collins back out to Gale. Gale shut off by Page. And a turnover. Penn cannot afford turnovers this late in the game, in a tight game, and Henderson back the other way. Raffu couldn't get it the first time. Collins for Weiss. Weiss on the pull-up was fouled. She'll go to the line to shoot 2.
Credit Perry Page with that defensive stop by Columbia. She forced the turnover that allowed Columbia to get out and run in transition.
So it took a while, but Gale finally picks up her 4th personal foul. It comes with 2:07 to go here in the fourth. Cecilia Collins will head to the bench for Columbia as Ari Bola comes on, and here is Weiss to shoot 2. 89% from the free throw line. She had made 33 of her last 34 in the regular season, but remember, she got fouled taking a 3 in the first half, missed all 3. Just one of those little indications that Columbia maybe was a little tight. Number 1 seed, different spot for them, but they relaxed after that first quarter. But give all the credit to Penn right now because they did not lay down when they fell behind by 17. They dug in and fought. Now down by 8 with 2:07 to go.
And so you don't need to jack up threes, but you need to go with some pace here.
Moving Gale off the ball for the moment. Now she's got it. Almquist has been good in the second half, 9 of her 15 points since halftime. Inside of 2 minutes to play in the fourth.
Good defense by Columbia.
Yes, not much happening right now, and Mike McLaughlin will take a timeout with 9 on the shot clock as Columbia, when they needed it most, has had a strong defensive stand so far. Remember, that's how this game started. They made it so tough on Columbia in that first quarter, on Penn in the first quarter, Christy, holding the Quakers to just 6 points in the opening period.
And it's not a one-on-one kind of defensive stopper thing. We know Kitty Henderson is the Defensive Player of the Year, but it was the team defense. They got in the gaps that prevented Penn from getting downhill, trying to create off the bounce.
9 on the shot clock for the Quakers. Been a good defensive stand so far for Columbia. If you're Penn, where are you looking on this play? Is it Almquist? Is it Collins? Is it Gale? Is it someone outside of those three who Mike McLaughlin said had to step up if they were going to beat Columbia here today?
I think you go to Almquist here. And I've seen some plays throughout the season where they can do some things to isolate Almquist on the block with everyone else moving away. I would go for that quick score here because, like you said, only 9 seconds on the shot clock.
Winner of this game will take on the winner of our next game. It will be Princeton taking on Harvard in semifinal number 2. Some are referring to it as an NCAA tournament elimination game. Those two teams and this Columbia team would beg to differ, saying we deserve 3 teams in the NCAA tournament. No matter what, that will be an intense showdown next.
I'm going to call it an Ivy League showcase game coming up next.
Penn basketball, 9 on the shot clock. Here's Caldwell. They look for Gale. Gale on the dribble. Nowhere to go. Shut off. Great job by Columbia defensively. And here come the lines across half court. Now, where does Columbia look on this possession?
They look to milk as much clock as possible. They want to get this into the teens before they look for a shot.
Riley Weiss says, I'll take this 3, and misses it. So Penn, door still open here for the Quakers, but they got to push through it quickly here. Gale recognizing that, finds another gear and finds the basket for 2. Quakers will use the timeout. It's their final timeout, and they take it with 1:08 to go. That's key because now they don't have a timeout to use to advance the ball in the final minute if it comes to that. But they want to get their defense set after that offensive take.
Well, because you cut it to 8. I don't disagree with this timeout because now Mike McLaughlin knows he's got to get the defense set because otherwise 30 seconds goes off the shot clock. It's multiple possession game right now. 6-point game.
2-possession game, 6 points the lead for Columbia, but the Lions do have the basketball with 1:08 to go. So Gale gets the bucket for Penn. She's got 12 points, 9 in the second half.
Thank you for fixing my quick math again. For the Quakers right now, they do not need to foul. They do need to get a stop because the one thing they can't is allow this to go into a 3-possession ball game right now.
One thing that Penn has in their back pocket is fouling. We've talked about it. Columbia is struggling at the free throw line. They've got Raffu on the court right now. She's a 39% free throw shooter.
They're going long.
Well, they give it to Raffu.
I would foul Raffu immediately.
Absolutely. Penn still has a foul to give, so she wouldn't have been at the free throw line yet, but you got to get to the point where you give up this foul. Maybe not at this point, but time is winding down. Collins to Henderson, defended by Almquist. Henderson wants to go one-on-one, can't get it to drop. The rebound and the putback and the foul. That will send Raffu to the free throw line to shoot 2 with 46.9 to go.
It's almost fitting that Raffu got the offensive rebound, the 12th of the game for Columbia. And you see shots going up by Kenny Henderson, and no one touches Raffu. She comes from the top of the 3 to get that offensive rebound.
The foul is on Lizzie Gretsch, number 32. That is her 5th. She is a senior, so she is going to hope that her teammates can put together a comeback here in the final minute so that this is not her final game. Gale back on the floor. Raffu at the line. You know they're holding their breath. because Columbia knows the number this season. 39% in the regular season from the free throw line, 18 of 46. But 3 for 5 today, a deep breath. And looking to make it back-to-back at the line, and she does. Maybe 39% in the regular season, but the postseason is something different. She has matched her career high with 16 points here today.
Penn's got to go. Too much time's going off the clock.
Gale looking for something to develop. Almquist on the drive, leans in and one. Big bucket there for Stina Almquist, and a chance for a three-point play.
Where this was a set to run Almquist off the flare screen to the weak side. She gets run off the three-point line, and she smartly puts it on the deck and drives hard to the rim. Now she's got the opportunity from a three-point play from the free throw line.
Almquist set to go to the free throw line. 79% on the season. That's 5th in the Ivy. Officials are having a conversation right now.
My gut says this is a defensive substitution for Penn to get Gale out of the game because they know they have to foul.
I don't know if the officials are just confirming the foul and who should be at the free throw line here. And it has gotten library quiet inside of the Pizzatola Center as they try to figure out what's happening. And it's going to be Caldwell going back to the bench from the scorer's table.
Well, Caldwell, I do believe, was still trying to come in for Gale, but because she was at the table, she had to come in immediately. That's why he sent her back to the bench.
Almquist cannot finish off the three-point play. Columbia will take a timeout, and they'll advance the ball into the front court with 30.8 to go.
So if you're Columbia, it's keep away time. You're just trying to avoid getting fouled so that you can run more time off of the clock. And if Columbia struggles to get it in, they still have a timeout.
And that's up to Penn right now to make them struggle, because Penn still has that foul to give. So you can get really aggressive here, try to get the steal, gamble a little bit. If you commit a foul, you're going to have to foul after that anyways to send them to the free throw line if you can't turn them over, right?
Because time's of the essence, you go for that steal to prevent anything from Columbia. I would almost take someone off the inbounder here and play the passing lanes and see if you force that turnover.
You wondering what's happening at Amity Hall uptown?
I do.
Columbia watch party? Listening to you, I think. They don't want to be interrupted by that.
I think that's why they're talking, is that they were listening to me.
They're looking for order something else from the bar. Good to have them watching. They're trying to, from afar in Manhattan, get their lines across the finish line here and back into the Ivy Madness Championship game. That would be played tomorrow, 5:30 Eastern time. The officials were at the monitor. I don't know if they're going to put a little time on the clock here. It says 30.8 right now. Yeah, they're going to put a little bit on the clock. So 31.6 is the time on the clock. Penn will take whatever they can get right now in a two-possession game. Again, 3 team fouls on the Quakers, so 1 to give here. Almquist will be on Henderson on the inbound.
You think Megan Griffiths is calm and collective as she looks over there right now? But I also think she's sitting there for a reason. If there's an issue getting it in, she wants to be close to that official.
Henderson, little trouble getting it in. Weiss in a very tough spot. Is dribbling right near midcourt, and now Penn gets called for the foul. That will be the 4th team foul. Oh, no, correction, 5th team foul. So we had it wrong there. It was 3 on the bug, so it's 5 team fouls now. So they did not have a foul to give. So 2 free throws now, which is fine for Penn. They need to stop the clock, and they got to hope that Henderson has issues at the free throw line, which she has this year, 44% from the line. So between Raffu and Henderson, Penn's got their choices here, but we saw what Raffu did at the line a moment ago. So it is Katie Henderson at the free throw line. Number 1 all-time assists at Columbia. This is the first. Number 6 all-time scoring. Number 2 all-time steals. One of the great all-time players. Number 1 in wins with 98.
And as a reminder, Columbia is the 6th best offensive rebounding team in the country, so Penn must get a box out here.
They did with Almquist. Remember, Penn has used up their timeouts, confirming that, yes, Penn out of timeout, so they cannot advance it. Gale finds an opening, can't get it. Rebound by Kitty Henderson, and a reach-in foul. I think that's Gale, and that should be 5.
And Mike McLaughlin smartly, knowing it's on Gale, brings his team over, knowing he gets the 30 seconds to put a new player in, huddles them up to get the next offense called.
Just waiting for the confirmation on Gale, but it was pretty clear. Gale gets it. That is her 5th foul. She's done. So a strong second half for the sophomore from Woodstock, Georgia, but she's done. Gretchen's done for the day as well. 12 points for Gale, 4 assists. But she's to the bench now, and Henderson back to the line to shoot 2.
And this is something Columbia has done for years. The 4 players not shooting the free throw, huddle up, get on the same page, and then they break to go in for that second free throw.
Again, a miss at the free throw line has not hurt Columbia so far. 17.1 to go. Henderson does get the final one. She's in the double figures now with 10, and Columbia will keep some pressure on in the backcourt, trying to work some clock down here for Penn. Almquist on the push. Collins launches for 3 and rattles it home. 10.1 to go. Timeout called by Columbia to advance it. Penn will not go away. Much like last year, they battled. They made it a 1-possession game in the final minute. And Columbia will advance it. It's still a 2-possession game, though, here in 2025. In Providence.
Well, when Sawyer didn't take the 3, I was like, no, but then Collins is like, give me the ball. Freshman of the year making a huge play for the Quakers. So I'll say this, no timeouts for Penn. You got to go for the steal here, trying to extend this game. For Columbia, I am going to tell my young players, do not catch the ball at the half-court line. They were very lucky the last time when they advanced the ball that they didn't cough it up at the half-court line.
Officials are back at the monitor. They're now walking away from it. 10.1 to go in the 4th. I haven't seen any change on the clock, so the clock is good according to the officials. And it is Columbia basketball in the front court. Henderson and Raffu are on the court. Again, we talked about the free throw shooting issues for Columbia. Henderson will trigger the inbound. Gets it into Broom, who is fouled. Sawyer there on the reach, and Broom will go to the free throw line. Hasn't been there a lot this year, 11 of 14 on the season. But the first year from Seattle in a big spot here with a spot in the Ivy Tournament Championship game on the line with 8.7 to go. Perfect for the first. A reminder, Penn out of timeouts. 8.7 to go. Math not adding up for the Quakers at the moment. And Broom makes the equation a little tougher.
And Megan Griffith gets a sub in for the shooter so she can get the defense set.
Tomby will come on for Penn. So the Quakers getting some shooters on the floor here. They need a 3, a steal, and a 3 to force overtime. Stranger things have happened. 8.7 to go. Here's Caldwell. Penn's got to go. They've got to score quickly from 3. Caldwell has it blocked on the outside. Collins has it, and Columbia will play for the Ivy Tournament Championship tomorrow.
Well, very fitting that Kitty Henderson gets that last block. Her defense